And here we are with another D3 tutorial. I am D3. So this is going over the previous tutorial on the topography model that we used. And I'm going to assume that you already know how to do this, and we're just going to add more to the basics. This is beyond the basics and more advanced techniques. We're going to go over a telephoto lens versus a wide angle lens. We're going to add some water effects to our composition or our landscape. We're going to have a focus object, and we can pick the f-stop and focal length. We're going to put an HDRI on the model or surrounding the model, and then we're going to have some lights of interest, and I'll show you what that looks like later. So first, you can open up your model, and it will look something like this, or whatever other color you use. I have a marble texture. And the first thing we want to go is into Photoshop. So we have our image, and remember it is, I did here 500 by 500, and our composition is also 500 by 500. So that means every pixel in this image is a hair that extrudes above the plane. And then we're going to go to the adjustments, bump up the contrast, okay, and then add to our levels, and then we're going to bring these in a little bit darker. So there's more whites. We have basically whiter whites and darker darks in the image, and we're getting rid of the midtone values. I already have one of these set up, and you can save it as a PNG. So we're going to go into our hairs, but before we do that, I want a before and after look. So I'm going to render this out into our length, and we're going to use that new image as our mapping. So the length of the hairs are changing, but the color of the hairs are going to remain the same because of our texture color over here in the right hand corner. See, now here's the after. So this is our before, and this is our after. So again, it maps during the darks are the lowest levels and the whites are the highest levels. So we have this higher end over here versus this end, and then we have this valley that's creating here from these darker darks. We just, from bumping up the contrast. Oops. We also can go to our hair, length to 50%, and then our variation to 1. Let this render out so you can compare it. So this brought all the levels down on the length percentage. So the changes in elevation are closer together versus okay, now our camera. So this is our focal length. The focal length is the camera lens we're using. If we want a telephoto, it's around 300. That's if we're looking down from like a helicopter view or far, far away. And a land before time. Let that render out. And then our wide angle is almost similar to like a GoPro, and that's around 15. So you can see the warping already. I'm going to click our plane so we can rotate around it. And then you can see the warping in this. Now what happens when you use a telephoto close to the object? It just looks like we're zoomed in really close to it. Oops. So it's almost that we're extremely far away, and then we're glazing over this landscape that's in the distance. We're going to keep this like that. Let this render out. And then here's our new texture that we made in Photoshop versus that. Alright, so we're going to make water now. So we can create another plane, have it match our previous one at 1000 by 1000. We're going to bump the segments up because we're going to put a displacement map on this. We want something, we want higher segments for the basically the displacement map to like grab onto and actually warp the plane. If we only have 4 segments, it's only going to break 4 times, opposed to 500 by 500. I already made a texture. And what is this? It's color. I just picked a random darker blue. Transparency. I just picked a random color. The refraction is 1.52. It's around glass and water. I added 3% normal Beckman and a roughness. So it's not like it's not clear. Reflections, it's like it's rough. And then our bump map is just a noise, so you can check on that. I picked over in this tab wavy turbulence, which is somewhere over here, and then I picked 2 random blue colors, and you can see what that looks like. I have this on physical render right now, and of course nothing is shown because we have to lift up our plane. Like our water level's rising. And there it is. So now we have this landscape and we have a point of reference. So we're looking at the waves and we can kind of see like almost like a physical scale, and so that's what that's used for. We can pick a HDRI, which is we have to make a sky, and this is under color. Is this under? So we want a luminant HDRI that lights up our scene, but we would have to put the render settings under global illumination, which I'm going to leave clicked off so you can see the difference on that. So what it's now going to do, it's going to refract and reflect the background and the colors in the background. As you can see, this blue color. Which may be desirable or not. And then under render settings. So now the global illumination is going to light up even these darker spots because it's coming from all angles. And that one's going to take a little bit longer to do. I put the sampler rates pretty low, so it shouldn't take that long. Yep. And I have a softbox with a yellow hue. Now as that renders, let's go to a wide angle lens, make our sky, because we don't want to see it, a compositing tag not seen by camera. Go in. Let's pick composition through this angle. So we're looking at this landscape. See how this is doing? Yeah, that came out nice. So we have the global illumination, which is picking up objects over here. It's picking up the angles of the HDRI. Also, the softbox is a little bit brighter than the physical render. can also do a focus object. We have to create a null. And a quick tip is I like to create a square. And I'll make the square relatively small. And then I'll add it on the null. So what this does is when I move it, I can see where it is from the square. Let's add a compositing tag so it's not seen by camera. So it's at our focal length over here. So it's in the distance. We're gonna go to our camera, go to focus object, drop this null in there. We can pick our f-stop. It's usually at 8. I had it preset to 1. You have to go into the physical render and then click on depth of field. And then render it out. This is our previous one. So this is without the HDRI, and this is with the HDRI. You see the lighting difference. All this is lit up in this darker area. The f-stop may be a little bit too harsh for this angle. So what is happening is this is our focus point, and everything before and after it is going to get progressively out of focus, as you would in a realistic camera. Let that one render out. Our second, I'm going to jump this to 2. You can also add another cube. Let's get out. Actually, go back in the camera. Let's go back to the telephoto. So 300. That's a cool angle. I'm gonna get out of there. I'm gonna use that ravine. And now we can use this square as a illumination. Make sure we can't see it. So what's going to happen is this material I made, it's no color, no reflectance, luminance. You have to click on GI area light, and I put the strength to 5,000. So it's going to light up this entire area as like a softbox will. And I'm going to add a composite tag as well. In addition, we should put our focal distance right here. And I guess we can go back to 1 since it's so close. Is this done? Yes. And then, oh, look at this, sunset color right here. We can also take that out and put another image. This is a galaxy image, and we can render this out. The image that I put on is just a galaxy I took off Google. Yeah. So compositional reasons, you don't want to put the horizon right in the middle of the plane. It's slightly off. This is using the rule of thirds and cinematic. You have another focal point that's still using the rule of thirds. This is where the this line of the third and this line would cross approximately. And that is way too much. We're going to redo that render with 2. Stop render, yes. This is way too out of focus. So our focal point is also going to change with the lens of the camera, so make sure that you adjust it for that reasons. And I'm gonna get out of this camera. While that renders, I can show you the landscape. You can also go into Photoshop, take a brush, or a new layer, B for brush, and then darken all the areas besides this white plateau, which is going to be taller than everything. You can put an opacity level on that. And of course you can put a fall off, like an airbrush tool, so it like progressively gets darker. And then you can have oops. You can have this white area kind of come out as everything's lower, and then you have this like white virus looking like finger or arm that comes out of the darker area. Save that. Save that as. I'm gonna put 03 PNG 023. That's sure. Why not? Oh, this is almost done. You can see this pink front here, and oh, this dark area from the square. I didn't catch that. So let's see what that looks like. Let this load. So you have everything that's really low, and then you have bump the variation up and the length to about 80. Let that one load out. So you have this giant, I guess, mound coming out of it. I'm going to go to render, turn off GI just so we can get a quick render on this. And also, depending on your color palette, you can turn this into a red. So you're mapping off our original marble color, and then you can warp that and, you know, change the or reverse the colors. So this is actually dark, and all this is lighter or reversed. But you can really change that. This cool red color right here. We should be able to see the pink from over here. Maybe not. So this pink cube is going to light up this area. Make sure this is checked. Make sure that is checked. Let's try again. Why is that not acting as a light? Edit render settings. turn on global illumination. There we go. And then, of course, that pink, and you can add different colors. And that's always subjective to the viewer. And there we go. So you have the wide angle, you have the telephoto, you have the water, you have little lights that aren't supposed to be part of the HDRI. You have without the water. Which one did I make? Did I save it? Okay, so I have these glowing squares, and I just put them into random spots, and then so the surrounding extrusions will light up. That's how you do that. And if you like the tutorial, put a thumbs up. If you want to see more, write in the comments or send me a message on what you want to see tutorials of or videos of. And thanks for watching. Subscribe.